out word of a settlement that needs our help.
How's that, people? How's it going? It's a final render here, and I thought I would do something special to open up this video because this is going to be a very interesting video for me. So, for this episode of Fallout 4, Building with Mods, we are going to be recreating a different game. That's a very unusual thing for this channel. We are going to be building it at the Starlight Drive-In, which is actually where I did my very first episode of Building with Mods. But for now, we are going to be recreating Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria from the game Five Nights at Freddy's. Superb game in my opinion, I really enjoy it, and let's start creating the location. First thing we're going to want to do is to scrap everything in the Starlight Drive-In using the scrap all command. It's a very simple command, just simply gets rid of absolutely everything which could be scrapped in the settlement. And the entire place is going to be built using alternate settlements. Alternate settlements is a mod I have grown to love now I've got the carpets and the wallpapers to work, and you'll see why in this video. So I started off by kind of making the main foundation of the place and then putting up all of the walls around it. And since there's a map in the game Five Nights at Freddy's, it actually made it quite easy for me to map out the place quite well. And the rooms actually do kind of work nicely to scale, actually. And decided to raise and lower certain floors where appropriate, and I actually think it turns out quite nicely just looking at it already. And I'm going to put up these inside wall frames, so this is what we will attach our wallpaper to. And when it comes to the wallpaper, there are lots of them in alternate settlements that we could use, but none of them are the same as Five Nights at Freddy's. So I decided to make my own. I looked at Five Nights at Freddy's and created a copy of the wallpaper texture and imported it into the game. It's about time I started doing this stuff. I actually made a couple textures for this game, for this mode, and it actually turns out to be quite nice actually when you start to get the actual correct textures in place. And I don't know why I haven't done it for some of my other recreations, but you know what, now I've done it, I definitely think I'll be making a lot of my own custom textures for the game. I think it makes a huge world of difference because there was nothing that actually matched the walls. And not only that, but the walls have also got like grime and stuff on them. All of the wallpapers in alternate settlements are all pretty clean, but now I've actually made a pretty darn close replica of the wallpaper in Five Nights at Freddy's, so I really like that. I was even able to do the same for the actual door frames and try to make them match as closely as possible. So, that's pretty cool. And now it's time to decorate the place. Actually building the place wasn't that difficult since it's mapped out so well, but to start off with we're going to use law-friendly posters to just cover the walls with posters. The entire place has been empty for a while in Five Nights at Freddy's, and there are posters that are all a bit nasty and torn up over all the walls, and it looks great. And for making Pirates Cove, I'm going to use just curtains, so just put up some simple curtains just over there. Works really well. They're not quite big enough, but I was able to lay them on top of another to make it work. And using some of the Institute home tables from the Homemaker, I am able to create the dining area. And the dining area I originally make way too big. As you can see, I've got maybe 5 rows of tables here. I actually do cut that down to 3. Not only is that more true to what's actually in Five Nights at Freddy's, but it also looks better. So, I'm also going to be making all of the back room areas and all of the rooms where you can look up some of the animatronics moving around and use an OCDecorator to decorate those little places. And to tell you the truth, this is actually quite an interesting build, because whilst we know what is in certain places in the building, we don't know everything, because we've only got very limited views of each room in Five Nights at Freddy's. So, I went with the approach saying that if you don't know what's there, I can put whatever I want. So here is the kitchen. Five Nights at Freddy's, you can't even go in the kitchen, the camera is disabled in there. So, in theory, I didn't even need to make it at all. But you know what, for the sake of the video, I decided to actually go ahead and build what I think the kitchen may have looked like in Five Nights at Freddy's. So here we go. It's fairly big, but it's not too big because it is actually quite a small restaurant. As I said, there's only 3 rows of tables, so how many pizzas are you going to actually make for all those people? You're not going to need that much space, but you know what? It's got enough ovens, it's got plenty of ingredients, it's got plenty of space. If you've got 10 people working in this kitchen, you could easily crank out that many pizzas, you know what I'm saying? So, I think it's a pretty cool little idea to see what I think the kitchen would have looked like. As I said, no one knows what the kitchen looks like, but that's what I think it would look like. And now for the hallways, I just decided to just spam the place with rubbish from OCDecorator. Just fill the place with junk, make it look like a complete mess, because that's what it is. The floors are just covered in crumpled up bits of paper and broken bottles, because the place has been completely abandoned for, well, years in fact in Five Nights at Freddy's. And now it's time to make the control room. This is where the main player actually plays the game in Five Nights at Freddy's, and it's very important to make sure this place gets done right. Settlement Objects expansion pack is able to give us some really clean glass, and also the Wasteland Workshop has given us the powered doors which we'll need to control. And here's another thing I modded in. This is the Celebrate poster which you can see in the game of Five Nights at Freddy's. I feel as if I needed to mod that poster in because that poster is a key part of the little area where you play the game. It's really in your face, this Celebrate poster with all the characters on it. So I felt as if really needed to have that. I also got some regular posters which I shrunk down to a smaller size and then just filled the desk with all the little bits of rubbish, including the iconic desk fan which you can see throughout the game. And I actually think it looks pretty darn spot on. I think it really does look like the little desk area where you play Five Nights at Freddy's. It really is just a little decrepit little desk with nothing really going on for it, but when you start to layer all of the objects one on top of another, so it actually matches what it is in Five Nights at Freddy's, I actually think it works quite well, and it looks really nice in the day, but obviously we're not going to be using it in the day too much. And now it's time to add the functionality to the office. Each side of the corridor has a door and a light which we need to be able to control. So with the Wasteland Workshop powered doors, we're able to rig up a switch which will instantly open and close those powered doors. And I think that actually works quite well. It's a shame they don't go up and down like in Five Nights at Freddy's, but in this case it still works. And also I'm able to use one of the wall mounted spotlights. Like these wall-mounted spotlights came out with the Automatron DLC, and you're able to turn them on and off with a button. So that's fantastic. It means I've actually got the full functionality of the office from Five Nights at Freddy's in my Fallout 4 recreation, which I really like. And again, using alternate settlements, I was able to put up some ceilings around the place, and also put some ceiling wallpaper onto the ceiling. So that's pretty cool. And to decorate the back office, I was able to get a load of power armor heads, put them through the OCD dispenser, which actually turns regular objects such as clothing into static objects which won't get knocked over, and I can put them on the desk, so I'm able to decorate the back office the same as what it is in Five Nights at Freddy's. So I think that's pretty good. You've basically just got a room full of heads, you know, animatronic heads. So I decided to put up some of the mannequin heads and some of the T-45 armors, etc., and I think it sells it quite well. And now, of course, we need to actually light this place for nighttime. Seeing as when you play Five Nights at Freddy's, you don't see too much, you can only see what the camera is showing you, I decided to recreate the camera shots by using spotlights. These spotlights will light up what you see if you were playing Five Nights at Freddy's, and it actually looks quite good as well, because they do have these circular pools of light in Five Nights at Freddy's, which I've tried to recreate, and I think these spotlights, which I got from the Settlement Object expansion pack, works really well. And of course we need our animatronics. We're going to get everyone's worst companion, Preston Garvey, and he's going to be taking the role of Freddy Fazbear himself by going into some power armor and also using the mascot head, which actually is in the vanilla game. You can find that on Raiders, I believe, or you can just add it with the command console like I did, because it's a pretty rare helmet if I remember right. So yeah, then all we got to do is put him on the stage and we're pretty much ready to go with our Freddy Fazbear's restaurant. It's been a very unusual build, this one, because as I said, I've never actually recreated something from a different game that is outside the Fallout universe, but this one was actually pretty fun actually. It's a small place, granted, but there's so many decorations in this place. Every wall panel technically has 5 objects attached to it as opposed to just one, so it's actually a surprisingly big building for the actual computer to pump out. But you know what? I think the results speak for themselves. This place I actually think really does resemble Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and I'm so happy that I was able to get all of the correct wall textures in there. As I said, I just made them in Photoshop, brought them into the game, and it actually makes it look like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Whereas if you were just to use some of the stuff that was already in alternate settlements, it really wouldn't look like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But seeing as I'm able to add the correct ones, I'm really happy with that. And I hope you guys are happy with it too. As I said, been a bit of a fun build. I think I'll try to recreate some places from other games in the future, and I really enjoyed this one. So, thanks very much for watching guys, this has been the final render, and if you're new here, please remember to check out some of my other videos. The last video in particular of Building with Mods, where we made a really nice Brotherhood of Steel embassy. It's a really nice little place and it's a cool video. I've also been doing a survival playthrough, so you can check that out, and also, just if you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.